Okay, we're recording, by golly. Well, here we are. The KO Lee tool cutter grinder. A few things I need. Kind of an oddball thing here, but I need some of these or one of these. I'll get some measurements. It's probably a 1/4 inch. Yeah, I'm not going to get real fancy here. Okay, we'll make it a 3/16. Yeah, you might call it a 1/4 with wear, but I need that on the radial grinding fixture. And this is also, there's 2 of these on my table for when I want to pivot my table. This keeps the pressure going in 2 different directions to keep it still. Okay. Anything MT number 5. Any T-bolts, whatever we got here. Okay. And that measures, see, the width is 7/8, 5/8 or 7/8. It's probably 5/8. Yeah, it's a little, it's a hair over 5/8. Between 5/8 and 3/4, whatever that is. Oops, there we go. 8/16, 5/8, 7/16 maybe. And the thread, I don't think the thread matters, but I will check it. Probably should have checked this before I turned on the camera. Let's see if we get on the imperial side of this gauge. And yeah, it's 3/8/16, just as I suspected. Any kind of hold downs, any kind of anything for fixturing stuff down to this table. My my table slot is a little more than 3/8. Let's see here. Sometimes it just doesn't pray. 7/16. 7/16 is the, and the bottom of it is, I don't know if the bottom is critical or not, but the bottom is 3/4. I think that's all I'm going to call for, ask for. You'll notice I have the powered workhead mounted up here, and it had some issues. Number one, I took the spindle housing all apart. I have it locked now. I took it all apart and got it back together twice. The first time I got it all back together, it was a pain to get it back together. It has one of them wavy washers in the front up against the bearing, and you have to compress that to get this in there deep enough to where I can get the spring clip in the groove, and you know, nothing wanted to cooperate. But in this baby's lifetime, this thing has been laying with the cord against between the ground and the sharp corner. So these two wires were obviously bad. So I dipped them in, I cut them off, cleaned them up, dipped them in flux, kind of wove them together, soldered them, and shrink wrapped them. So the idea is I'm going to kind of bunch all that together, and likewise the top. And I got something that's probably, it's a very old product. It's probably, today it would probably be called Flex Seal. I think it's the same deal. Flex Seal's been around since the 70s, if not more. It's been available to the public since then. It was just something, you know, called under a different name. But it's like great for electrical. And then I also have, I'm not sure what tape this is, but someone cared enough to keep it in its case. Now I ran across a roll of electrical tape that was sticky on the outside, and it was exposed. So you had to unroll it, you know, one time around to get a fresh piece. But all the stickum was on the outside of the roll. Thought that was a little different. So anyway, we're gonna get this thing back together, and I'm gonna plug it in and turn it on and see what happens. It can't be wired for low voltage. It has well, it could be if the motor itself was rewired, but I'm gonna put that together, and you know, it might run, you know, with 40% efficiency or something. So, and you know, like Craig Tate pointed out to me, he says it's just a motor. You know, it just spins this. Why is that so hard? You know, it just spins this fixture. You know, and again, it's just a motor. So it, you know, shouldn't be any. You know, there's no great mystery there. Let me bring this table around here. Okay, so there's where it is, and I got some good advice from the last couple videos. Number one is to let this thing warm up and run for a while before you start it. Make sure we got a fresh supply of oil down here. If you're going to be using the powered head, you need to get some oil in that casing. Need to pump the Bajor. One thing that I've neglected to do. Now the other day I was grinding something, God knows what it was, and a part came off the machine and landed in my lap basically. And I did discover what that was, and I do remember it having a problem, and it is this little knob, and you can see the problem. So not critical, but not good. Earlier I had the powered workhead spindle housing mounted to the radial grinding fixture. And trying to think if I did any grinding with that or not. I had it on there. It works. It's workable. The thing is, there's so many combinations of the height and the depth and the angles, and this piece alone can be adjusted 5 ways, I believe. So it can be indexed in a circle. And this part can turn in a circle. They got an X and Y table, and it also has this whole fixture tilts 18 degrees, I think it said. And there's also underneath, where can we see this best? Okay, here it is over here. Right here, there's this cap, and that screws off, and there is a tapered, some Morse taper opening there. And I've seen in some of the catalogs there is a, this piece obviously would be brought out, and there would be this piece going into this rod coming up out of this rod coming up out of here, probably 8 inches or so. Okay, this is the powered work head, and this can be driven in 2 fashions. One is just to drive this dog, to drive something on the center, the lathe dog, I guess you call that. And there's another pulley on the inside that actually turns the shaft. I got the guard on. It has a little outlet here to go into the drain collector. It has a vacuum here, and it has its coolant nozzle here. I think what I'm going to do is get one of these cheap oil mist coolers. No, it's not a cooler. Lubricator. They start at like $18. You hook it up to an air supply and the coolant supply. And you've seen them used before. They have the little bendy arm on it, and you can direct it where you need it to go. So that's probably going to be in my future. So let's see what happened over here. This is forward. Now, I was told you need to give this thing a break between forward and reverse, but I think we were talking more about the main spindle. But there's reverse. Now, it's not... If you're going to change this belt to another pulley, what you need to do is loosen this up and slide the motor. Well, how do you do that? Yeah, I don't have any movement this way for the motor. I can move the motor forward and back. So let's just switch that over. Let's just switch that over to the other pulley. There we go. Now this is turning free. And yeah, there's really no way to move that motor left or right. So we'll go forward. We need to tighten that belt up a little bit. Let me bring you back. I'll get that belt tightened up. Okay, let's just say this wasn't the case the first time I did that, but let's listen to this. It seems like it... Now there's a little noise coming from down there. It's not supposed to be, I don't think. That was also... I can stop that. That is not good. That motor is not... That motor does not have the power to turn that spindle. Now with this going here, I can reach back here and try to stop this, and it seems to have some torque. So I'm thinking there might be enough power there to drive a lathe dog, but not the spindle itself. So that's probably the difference between high voltage and low voltage. So let's go ahead and fire up. And I'm going to see if this has changed at all. I'm still not able to stop that. Where I could easily stop it if it was turning the spindle. Now part of me wants to go ahead and switch that over to the spindle again and see if there's any difference with the main spindle running. But I don't think there will be. I don't think it's worth the time or effort to do that. So we could drive something with the lathe dog. We could I could bring my center over here. Let me back us up a little bit. I can bring my center over here and turn on centers, and I would be able to grind a taper. I think. So, a little bit of advice I got from viewers was, let this wheel warm up and let it sit a while before you hit reverse. A little longer yet than just turning it off, waiting for the motor to stop and then hitting reverse. But actually wait a little bit longer. But let the thing run for 10 minutes before we start grinding anything at all. This is a good possibility here, like I said, of turning on centers and grinding a radius on or grinding a taper on a long shaft or a short shaft. And then we got the option to mounting the spindle housing over here on the radial grinding fixture. Yes, I think. So that's kind of all the equipment I have for this and what you're seeing. So if anybody's got anything in a shoebox or an old toolbox in their shop tucked back in a corner or something, I would be open to a conversation. I can't pay $300 for something, but You know, for the right stuff, I might, I guess, but I guess the next thing to do would be see if I can have this motor rewired for low voltage, or just simply replace it with another motor. I don't think I'm hurting anything right now. Nothing's making any, as far as the workhead goes, there's nothing like what was sounding off with the trying to turn the spindle. So, despite the fact that I don't think I'm hurting anything, I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. So here's the main spindle, forward reverse. Here's the workhead, forward reverse. Here's off. This is the collector that is not hooked up to anything. The motor starter in there is hooked up, but there's nothing coming out. And then this is the coolant pump, and if you can see the orange wire nuts here. And they, nice crotch shot there. And they simply come into this. And this has not been wired for low voltage though. So I frankly am thinking more about, for my usage, I am thinking one of these directed mist coolant deals, rather than filling this thing up with coolant and pumping coolant all over the place. It's just not going to be necessary for anything that I'm doing out here. As long as I can keep the material I'm grinding cool, that's the key. So it doesn't really matter how you go about that. It's just getting it done. So I'm just going to call this the latest update. I don't know if it's part 21 or if should we just start it over. KO lead cutter grinder operating part 1, 2, or 3. I still need to do some work on these hand wheels. There's a graduated dial behind there, and you're supposed to be able to unlock this down here and turn that the whole thing wants to jump off there, but there it is. Like I said, I need to work on this stuff, these handles. I still have my Z, which is down here, and the one for the other side is on the bench, and it's still waiting, mostly cosmetic. I think I've already gone in and taken it apart and cleaned everything. I just need to get it cleaned itself. Get that graduated dial on the wire wheel. And okay, I'm speechless. Believe that? Getting a lot of use out of my my fancy drift here. And I made that. It was basically a lesson in patience and basically getting all these things. Is that a phone ringing? Lapping all these things down and getting them flat before screwing them onto a threaded rod. And what we have is brass, copper, aluminum, copper, aluminum, copper, aluminum, 12L14 and brass. And it's not empty full of shot or anything, but it's got some weight to it, and it'll persuade a piece of work on the table over 1/1000th of an inch. Here's the finish on the piece that I surface ground earlier today. This is just a cheap set of import right angles, I guess, that I've been kind of practicing my scraping on. And so got a nice finish on it. The wheel was, if you watch that video at the end of it, as that wheel's slowing down, you can see how out of true it was. And not out of true, just needed dressed. So I probably didn't do it the right. I used a fixture that's meant for, I used this fixture which I think is meant for doing like a diamond wheel in this direction. I simply used it in this position, you know, moving the table left and right, and